Call of Duty Zombies game mode is one of my most cherished pieces of video game media. No matter how old I get or how many games I play, this game mode always finds a way to make me come back to it. I have so many memories of this game mode, whether it's playing the mode with my brother, getting a ray gun from the mystery box, or just learning how to play it over time. This truly is a special piece of video game media. With that being said, the amount of time I put into it has definitely decreased over time. But why is that? Well, to answer that question, I'm going to do a deep dive into the mode as a whole, discuss the origins of it, talk about my favorite maps, and overall, why it's so much fun. Welcome to my Call of Duty Zombies Retrospective. The year is 2008, and Treyarch is hard at work developing Call of Duty World at War. As they're developing the game, a secret mode is being worked on at the studio.
We had a series of designers who found an animation. They found one of these animations which was of soldiers burning, interestingly enough. And they found it, and the movement was particularly interesting. It was this kind of, but without the sound, right? And hooked it up to our traversal system, which basically does kind of getting over walls and climbing through windows. And then each department over at Treyarch started to kind of give time to this kind of little pet project, so the sound department gave the sound, that thing came along, got hooked up. Character department said, well, I could make you a rotting flesh head, and we could attach that in there. And it kind of came together piece by piece.
Eventually, the Activision executives discovered the existence of the mode, and they fell in love with it. So they let the mode be put in the game, but they wanted it to be kept a secret. So it was decided that you would unlock it after completing the story mode for the first time. The mode ended up being such a huge hit that later on they patched the game so that you could play the mode immediately upon getting to the main menu. After this, the floodgates opened, with a new Zombies map coming out each new DLC pack. Zombies continued on into the next Call of Duty game developed by Treyarch, Call of Duty Black Ops. This is where the game mode would hit the big time, and this is where the history portion of the video ends. Now, before we get to the gameplay of the mode, I just want to mention something important going forward. This retrospective will not cover Cold War and Vanguard. I am not familiar enough with these games to give them the same coverage I'm giving the other games in this video, so keep that in mind. With that being said, on to the gameplay. The basic gameplay goes as such. Call of Duty Zombies is a wave-based mode where each round you are tasked with killing a certain amount of zombies each round. As the rounds progress, the number of zombies and the difficulty in killing said zombies also increases. To combat these zombies, you need to get better weapons. You do this by earning points. You earn points by killing zombies, and you use these points to open doors around the map and buy better weapons. You can buy weapons off the wall, or take a chance at the mystery box and risk getting a terrible weapon or a great weapon. Occasionally, you'll get around where instead of normal zombies, you'll get a special zombie variant. Examples include zombie dogs, exploding zombie clowns, zombie tigers, and space monkeys? Have I mentioned how weird this mode is? This would be the pattern set in World at War with Shino Numa that would define the game mode for years to come. But one thing that wouldn't be established in Shino Numa would be the Pack-a-Punch machine. This would be established in the map after Shino Numa, Derice. This is basically an upgrade machine for your guns, making them shoot better than ever before. Sometimes, though, they completely change the way a gun works. Most famously, it turns your starting pistol into an explosive weapon. Another thing that can help against the zombies is the perks. Perks are another thing you can spend your points on. There are several perks, and I'm not going to go through all of them because again, there are just that many of them, but I'll hit the highlights. Quick Revive, which is self-explanatory, allows you to revive allies quicker than normal, but when you're playing solo, it'll allow you to self-revive 3 times, which, believe me, comes in handy when you suck like me. There's Double Tap, which in World at War and Black Ops 1 just made you shoot faster, but Black Ops 2 onward lets you do double damage, which is great. Speed Cola, which lets you reload faster. Then, there's literally the best perk in all of Call of Duty Zombies, Fight Me, Juggernog. All it does is increase your health. Now believe me, this may not sound like that big a deal, but when you die in 2 hits in the early game, it changes everything. PhD Flopper makes you invulnerable against explosive attacks, and gives your Dolphin Dive, yes, that is the name, an explosive action. Finally, Stamina makes you run faster. That's it? Okay then. Again, that's just the highlights. There are way more perks than you would believe, but in my opinion, these are the most important ones, and the ones you'll go for first when you're playing a match. Actually, I want to go back to what I was saying when I was talking about Juggernog and the game's health system. So the way it used to work was, you went down in 2 hits, and Juggernog took it up to 4 hits. Black Ops 3 took it up to 3 hits, and I think Juggernog doubles it there too. Now, not every game follows that trend, and I'll explain those games specifically later. But still, it goes with my point that this game mode doesn't mess around. The zombies are absolutely ruthless. Sometimes the zombies will literally kill you so fast due to them being able to double hit you within a second. So your game could end in an instant due to bad luck. That's why Juggernog is so huge in this, because it can save you from a bullcrap ending due to, again, a stupid double-hitting zombie. One last thing I want to address is the Easter egg quest. This is basically the story mode of the maps. These will send you to do various things around the map to progress the story overall. The Easter egg quest would be greatly expanded upon as zombies went on, but, I'm gonna get some hate for this, I don't care about the Easter egg quest. I come to zombies for an arcade experience, not to be immersed in a story. Now I know there are a lot of people who do love these, and that's great, but again, Zombies to me is not a story game. Now I'll go more into detail about the Easter eggs themselves as I go through the video, as well as talk about the story of zombies as a whole. So there's one last thing to talk about. I forgot to mention the random power-ups. Zombies will occasionally drop random power-ups when killed. The power-ups are mostly self-explanatory. Max ammo refills your ammo, insta-kill, I don't need to explain this, and double points. Again, I don't need to explain this one. Although there are a few that require a bit more explanation. Like Nuke, which kills all current zombies on the map and gives you 400 points. Then there's Carpenter, which rebuilds all the rebuildable barriers on the map and gives you 200 points. Now that's the basic gameplay for the most part, but certain games have mechanics exclusive to said game, so why don't we go over those mechanics? Along with that, I'll give my quick thoughts on each variation of the game mode, and I'll say my favorite and least favorite map in each game. With that being said, let's go. Just gonna get this out of the way. No, I won't be talking about World at War. Why? Because everything I would say about that, I could just say about Black Ops 1. Also, everything done in World at War was brought over and improved in Black Ops 1. Although, I'll quickly say my favorite map is Doris, and my least favorite is Shino Numa. With that being said, Black Ops 1 is my favorite variation of the Zombies mode, and just my favorite Call of Duty in general. Now, while it doesn't have any unique mechanics outside the basic ones I mentioned earlier, the ones it does have I think are perfected here. Not much to say. I love Black Ops 1. Also, my favorite map is actually a tie between Kino der Toten and 5. Kino is purely nostalgia for me, and 5 I actually just learned to love while making this video. The atmosphere in 5 is awesome, and getting to play as freaking JFK is awesome. Now, least favorite is Ascension. Now, while there are a lot of things I like in Ascension, the monkeys just completely ruin it for me. They steal your perks and cause you to run around the whole map just to prevent this. Not to mention, if they don't take any perks, you get a free perk. But this is terrible, because the next time the monkeys come around, they're just gonna go for that perk you just got for free. Man, these things suck. With that done though, let's move on to Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 was huge when it came to innovating the zombies formula. With maps like Transit, Mob of the Dead, and Origins, zombies truly leveled up and became a defining feature of Call of Duty. This is also the game that would bring a brand new feature to zombies, that I actually forgot to mention in the gameplay section. Buildables. They became a thing in this game, and boy howdy, were they bad. To begin with, this is because they were introduced in transit, and while this map was revolutionary, that doesn't mean it was good. Actually, transit is a terrible map for various reasons, but it did introduce being able to build items. But this, and this is a big but, you can only carry one item at a time. This was a terrible idea. Why? Because transit is huge, so you gotta run all the way around the map just to find one part, only to find that part, and then repeat the process all over again. Granted, this system would be fixed in Mob of the Dead, only to return to the one item at a time system in Buried. That little tangent aside, overall I quite like Black Ops 2. Not as much as Black Ops 1, but it's still really fun. Unfortunately though, Black Ops 2 has quite a few maps that are just really poor in terms of quality. The worst one, and my least favorite map in the game, is Die Rise. This map is spread across 2 different skyrise buildings, and it's just awful. The main problem is the way the map is laid out. Say you got a good gun off the wall, but you decide you need to go to another part of the map. Well, good luck getting back to that weapon to buy more ammo. It might take you a calendar year just to get back to that weapon. Not to mention, you have to jump between the 2 buildings quite often. And of course, if you fail, you're dead. At least transit didn't involve platforming. On to a happier subject. My favorite map in Black Ops 2 is a classic, Mob of the Dead. Now, while there might be certain things that put me off of this map, like for example, just how long it takes to get set up and how tight it is, I can't deny how good it is. This map just screams passion in every single aspect of the design. Alcatraz is an amazing location for a zombies map. Given the real-life history of the location, it adds an appropriately creepy atmosphere to the map. This is also aided by the general design of the map areas. This map also added a bunch of fun weapons to play with, including the Hell's Retriever and the Blundergat. Last, but certainly not least, the characters are really special in this map. It stars a group of Alcatraz prisoners trying to escape an endless cycle of death. You can actually see a lot of their character traits in the trailer for the map. That also features the theme song of the map, Where Are We Going? One of them regrets his actions, while another doesn't regret any of the things he's done. I won't go too much into depth on the full story of the map as I couldn't properly do it justice. But with all of that out of the way, that's all I have to say about Black Ops 2. Man, that was great. I bet the next Treyarch Call of Duty game will be great. Wait, Treyarch didn't develop the next Zombies mode? Well, who did? I hate Exo Zombies. Enough said, moving on. Okay, I guess I could elaborate on Exo Zombies. Now it does have the honor of being the first Zombies mode not developed by Treyarch. But it wasn't developed by Sledgehammer Games, who actually developed Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. It was actually developed by Raven Software, which is another developer owned by Activision. Now, I'm gonna say this. I'm sure Raven didn't set out to make a frustrating piece of garbage. But they made a frustrating piece of garbage. Why is that? Well, it all ties to the main attraction of this game mode, the exosuit. All it was a way to double jump and dash, and that's it. I will give it this. It does add a layer of verticality that wasn't in Zombies before, but there are several problems with this gameplay. One, you don't even start out with the exosuit. You have to go through the map and find it. This sucks, because, again, this is the main thing the mode is built on. Also, you can't even access any of the perks if you don't have the exosuit. But I could forgive that if it wasn't for a certain enemy type. Say hello to the EMZs. These enemies only exist to deactivate your exosuit again taking away the very thing this mode is built around. That would be bad enough, but each map in Exozombies introduces a new variant of EMCs, which only get worse and worse. Also, the reason the special zombie variants work in most of the Treyarch games is because they only spawn in special rounds, where normal zombies don't spawn. In Exozombies, the EMZs spawn in normal rounds with normal zombies. This is the one thing that fundamentally ruins Exozombies. Other than that, it's just normal zombies, but worse. Now as for my favorite map, I don't have one here, because all the maps are horrible. So that's all I have to say about Exozombies. It sucks, and I hate it. Moving on. Black Ops 3 is in no exaggeration the pinnacle of Call of Duty Zombies. While I may love the original Black Ops, I can't deny that Black Ops 3 is objectively the better game. It seems like Treyarch learned everything from their previous versions of the mode and brought it all together for this variation. Buildables are back, Easter egg quests are back, and classic weapons are back. Everything, to me at least, seems to work in Black Ops 3's favor. With that being put into account, it's no wonder that Black Ops 3 has some of the most iconic maps in all of Zombies. From Shadows of Evil to Der Eisendrache, it's a list of all-stars to be sure. One thing I can think of that Black Ops 3 added to the overall Zombies formula was the specialist abilities. To put it simply, these are abilities where you can use a very special weapon for a limited time. I generally don't think it affects my playtime in Black Ops 3, but I bring this up now because specialist abilities become more important in later iterations. But easily the biggest thing added to Zombies was the Gobblegum system. This little Gobblegum machine would change the way some players would play Zombies. Essentially, the Gobblegum machine is a cheat device. You customize which gumball you can receive during a game, you spend some points, and you can receive a special power-up. These can range from spawning a max ammo, to giving you all the perks on the map. But I don't use the Gobblegum system. They just don't gel together with my playstyle that much. Now if I was trying to go for the Easter egg, that would be a different story. But I don't ever go for those, so with that, the Gobblegums get left behind by me. I know that I'm very alone in that department, but that's just me. One last thing to point out is that out of all the zombie modes mentioned in the video, this one is easily the best bang for your buck. Besides the standard maps for the main DLC season, you also have Zombie Chronicles, a DLC that features 8 remastered maps from past Call of Duty Zombie modes. Specifically, 3 maps from World at War, 4 from Black Ops 1, and 1 from Black Ops 2. Now that's it as far as the mode goes. It really is just an amalgamation of the previous Treyarch modes put together. But now to my favorite map, which would definitely be Gorod Krovi. This map features the best arsenal of weapons on any Zombies map. The standouts obviously are the returning PPSH and the brand new Ray Gun Mark III. Also, the layout of the map is great, and unlike other Black Ops 3 maps, the method of opening Pack-a-Punch is fairly simple. As for my least favorite, Zetsubo no Shima takes the title pretty easily. I don't really like the forest location, especially when you compare it to other environments in Black Ops 3. Like, this place can't even touch Shadows of Evil in terms of design or atmosphere. Not to mention, there just isn't a whole lot driving me to learn the map better. Like, I stink at Shadows of Evil, but it's still so cool that one day I'm gonna learn how to do everything on the map. But even with my dislike of Zetsubo, the solid mechanics of Black Ops 3 bring it far above maps like Die Rise. Man, this segment was so positive. Let's change that. Infinite Warfare might possibly be the most hated Call of Duty game of all time. The divisiveness even infected, no pun intended, the Zombies mode, where for the first time ever, Zombies would take a more comedic approach than ever before. Each map would be a parody of various decades in film. Examples include an 80s theme park film, a 90s horror film, a 70s kung fu movie, a 50s monster movie, and finally an epic sci-fi movie. Now, I actually enjoy this. As I'll talk about later, the Treyarch storyline was kind of going off the rails. Like alternate dimensions off the rails. So taking a simpler, more comedic approach was a smart decision in my opinion. The gameplay is actually pretty fun. Again, it's just Treyarch zombies, but it feels so much better than Exo zombies. Not to mention, this was the first game that, in my opinion, that gave you a gameplay reward for beating the Easter egg quest. You see, since you're playing through movie genres in the game, beating the Easter egg quests lets you play as a movie star, and they're actually found in the map. The celebrities include David Hasselhoff in Spaceland, Kevin Smith in Rave, Pam Grier in Shaolin, and finally Elvira in Radioactive Thing. Also, completing all the Easter eggs will allow you to unlock Director's Cut mode, which gives you all the perks for the map, 25,000 points to start out, and every single gun in the mystery box, or mystery wheel, whichever one you prefer, are pack-a-punched. Now, why don't I have footage of this? Well, that's why. Lastly, it's time for my most and least favorite zombie maps. Obviously, my favorite is Zombies in Spaceland. A truly great map. It's fun, goofy, and was a great start to the Infinite Warfare Zombies saga. My least favorite would easily be Beast from Beyond. For one, it swaps the goofy tone of the game with a very serious atmosphere, which doesn't fit with everything set up before. Also, this map is ridiculously difficult. The opening doesn't even have zombies, it has cryptids. They're an enemy type from another Call of Duty game mode called Extinction, which could be a separate video topic itself, but moving on. These cryptids that start the map are fast, take more hits than zombies, and can kill you much quicker than normal zombies. They won't stop spawning until you turn on the power, which is easier said than done in this map. In fact, I tried several times to get long footage of the map, but I just can't. With that all said, Infinite Warfare Zombies is an enjoyable take on zombies, but the next iteration would divide the fanbase like never before. This might just be the most divisive entry in Call of Duty Zombies. I've seen people online saying it's one of their favorite entries, and others saying it's their least favorite. Now as for me, I think it's okay. I don't like it as much as Infinite Warfare, but it does have its qualities I like. It also, in my opinion, presents the most interesting changes to zombies yet. For one, you have more options when it comes to how you want to start the game. You could start with all sorts of new weapons, from a double-barreled shotgun to a sniper rifle. But for me, you always gotta start with the pistol. Also, you could start with some unique perks that spice up the game. The perks I always choose allow me to carry 3 guns, make the power-ups drop more rapidly, and give me full armor at the start. Speaking of, let's talk about the armor system. Instead of using the Juggernaut perk to increase your health, you have armor. You have 3 layers of armor, and each layer lets you get hit 3 times. This means you can get a total of 9 hits on you. One last thing is the return of the specialist abilities. Now while the specialist abilities were introduced in Black Ops 3, I think they're at their best here. Because instead of just picking up a weapon that you can use whenever you want, it acts as a power-up. The one I always use is the camouflage power-up, but there are others as well. All of this, in my opinion, gives more variety to the player that wants to change things up. This system is even a predecessor to the systems in the next game in this series, for better or for worse, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now as for the general gameplay changes, World War II Zombies went for more of a horror vibe than previous power-ups. This can mainly be seen in the first map of the season, the Final Reich, which, getting ahead of myself a little bit, is my favorite map of World War II. This map really does give off a creepy vibe that most maps don't even come close to. Although, even though I do really love this map, the horror vibe does truly let it down, mainly thanks to the jump scares, because at certain points, it looks like the zombies just spawn into existence, instead of actually coming from somewhere around you. It makes it goofier than it would be otherwise, but I still love this map. There was one more change that, while small, in my opinion at least, was very noteworthy. You see, in previous zombie modes, if you got a weapon that was exclusive from the mystery box and pack-a-punched it there was no way to refill your ammo on the weapon, unless you just happened to get lucky and get a max ammo power-up. In World War II though, you could get more ammo by going to the pack-a-punch machine. This meant you didn't have to get rid of your favorite weapon. Now most of these changes would go into the rest of the maps of World War II, but one that wouldn't is the horror tone of the first map. After the Darkest Shore, the remaining maps would go for more of a bombastic approach. This isn't a bad change, it's just one that needs to be pointed out. One last thing to point out before mentioning my least favorite map is the special zombies, because unlike Exo Zombies and half of Infinite Warfare zombies, the special enemies were balanced, and they don't spawn in as much as regular zombies. This makes the game mode far more enjoyable to play than the previous non-Treyarch zombie modes, and maybe even the next Treyarch game. Although, again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now, as for my least favorite map, while the Darkest Shore does have fog that makes the map impossible to see, I'm gonna have to say the Tortured Path. This was a completely new take on zombies. The way it works is that there are 3 mini-maps, but in order to unlock these maps, you have to complete 10 waves in these maps. While every 3 rounds, you have a special objective round. These can range from pretty easy to almost impossible. Then finally, a boss fight in round 10. The main problem is that it's so difficult. I've never even beaten the first map because it's so hard. At least the Darkest Shore is one large map, and you can play the whole thing without having to beat the most obnoxious challenges ever. But that's all I have to say about World War II zombies. So let's move on to an entry that should have been great. Black Ops 4 had everything going for it. The entire Zombies fanbase was ready for this game. The trailers were great and only increased the hype levels for this game. So to see the game completely be DOA was absolutely sad. This game launched with 4 maps, which was the most any Zombies game had ever launched with. The only problem was, 2 of the maps were good and the other 2 were tragic. Not to mention, Black Ops 4 as a whole barely even functioned, with seemingly a majority of Zombies YouTubers suffering the deadly blue screen of death. Needless to say, things could have been better. But that's in the past, and Black Ops 4 functions today. Now, let's move on to things they've changed. The biggest thing they changed was the perk system. Now I hate to be this negative, but this is by far the worst change that has ever been made to the Zombies formula. For one, they got rid of Juggernog, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. Why? What did they ever do to you? Quick Revive was the only perk to survive the Purge, and it no longer self-revives you. You do that on your own. What's the point of this? The second thing I hate about this perk system is that around the map, there are only 4 perk machines, and you get the choice of which perks you can get from which machine. What's the point of this? It's like fixing a problem that was never there. I could pick which 4 perks I wanted before in maps of the past, and just ignore the others. Again, it's fixing a problem that was never there. Also, one thing to point out at launch, Black Ops 4 was absolutely brutal with its difficulty. It got to a point where Treyarch updated the game to where you die in 4 hits instead of 3. I think of this as taking the place of Juggernog, but here's the main problem I have with this hit system. It makes the perks less valuable as a result. Back in the day, with every map, the priorities were always get a gun and then start getting the perks. In BO4, there are times when I never really go for the perks. I don't find them to be that valuable to survival. Yes, I eventually do go for the perks, but I rarely make them a priority. I consider that a cardinal sin for this game, to make a core part of the gameplay experience less valuable. But moving on from that, one thing I do like is that they improved the startup options that World War II made. For one, there's an option in the main menu to change the spawn rate of special enemies. Whoever put that in, thank you. As well as you can start with as many points as you choose, which might actually be useful for maps like Blood of the Dead and Voyage of Despair. Although, if I am correct, this disables the ability to do Easter eggs, so that's something to note. One last thing to mention is the specialist weapons. They return once again. You get to pick your starting one, and you take that through the game. In this game, it once again is just a weapon you pull out to save yourself. Not too much to say, but it's still nice to see them return. Okay, back to stuff I hate. They ruined the Pack-a-Punch system! Back in the day, you did it once, and that was it. Now, you have to do it 6 times before your gun can be upgraded completely. This is dumb. I don't know how you can say this was a good idea, because it isn't. But other than that, gameplay itself hasn't really changed all that much. It's fun, but the perk system and the Pack-a-Punch system bring it down quite a bit for me. As for my favorite map, I'll give it to 9 actually. I love the idea of our group being inside a gladiator arena and surviving things like gladiator zombies and zombie tigers. That's just a cool idea. Not to mention, this is the only map in the Chaos storyline that I find to be simple for casual players like me who aren't going for the Easter egg quest. As for my least favorite map, it's gotta be Blood of the Dead. It's ridiculously difficult, way too big, and just a sad remake of the classic Mob of the Dead. Overall though, when I look back at Black Ops 4, it just makes me sad, because while it can be fun, it just makes me think of what could have been. The potential was there to make something amazing, but thanks to the bad new systems and the meddling of Activision, Black Ops 4 became, as far as I could tell, the most disappointing version of the game mode. Now with that, we have finally looked at every incarnation of the game mode. So let's talk about some other aspects of it, outside of the gameplay, that I find to be important. Starting with Verrückt, the second zombie map in World at War, every zombies map would have a special song included in there. You activate it by completing a special task around the map. Most of the tasks are just to interact with select object or a number of objects. The songs themselves can range from pretty good to absolutely awesome, and are songs that go perfectly well with the gameplay. Some of my favorites include Beauty of Annihilation, Mystery, and both versions of Where Are We Going. Not too much to say on this subject, the songs are just really cool. This might seem like a weird inclusion, but the trailers for the different zombie maps would always get me hyped to play the game. Not to mention, these trailers can work almost as short films at certain points. The way these shots are set up, and the way it establishes the characters, is sometimes better than the maps themselves. The trailers that are probably the most remembered are the music videos. These trailers not only show off the new song of the map, but they also set up the story of the map itself sometimes. Sometimes the trailers are better than the maps themselves, which is definitely the case with the Blood of the Dead trailer, which is, in my opinion at least, the best zombies trailer of all time. The atmosphere, the camera work, and the gameplay footage give off a sense of scale that the actual map itself could only dream of. That's all for the trailers. Now let's move on to the most interesting non-gameplay aspect of zombies to talk about, and that's the story. When zombies debuted in World at War, there was no story. They were just simple maps that you could survive in. But when Der Riese came out, things changed. There were audio recordings that began revealing the backstory, that the zombies became a reality thanks to Nazi experiments during World War II by a group called 935. This basic outline would start a story that would last until the end of Black Ops 2. Now, while the story doesn't completely change, it is heavily altered. Again, we started out with Nazi experiments and went to giant alien squids and alternate universes. It's a bit of a change, to say the least. This change can mainly be attributed to zombies switching directors between Black Ops 2 and 3. Now, I might be in the minority on this, but I prefer the original storyline, and the new one never did it for me. I know a lot of people like this story, which is great. More power to you. But I was never really into it. It also doesn't help that before the story had a true conclusion, Treyarch started a brand new storyline, the Chaos story. The Chaos story isn't terrible, but it never really went anywhere because Black Ops 4 was the only game to feature the storyline. But there is one thing about the story that did frustrate me as time went on. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, I do not care about doing the Easter egg quest. To me, getting all the perks and getting Pack-a-Punch open is my quest on the map. But as time went on, the developers started making you do steps in the Easter egg just to unlock basic things on the map. The example I think of when talking about this is definitely Attack of the Radioactive thing. You have to do like 3 different Easter egg steps just to open Pack-a-Punch, and it's definitely not fun. Treyarch is also guilty of this. I feel like in Black Ops 3 especially, they made opening Pack-a-Punch on certain maps an absolute pain. I'm looking at you, Shadows of Evil. But overall, this is where the mode began to alienate me. As mentioned earlier, I play this mode for the arcade experience of the whole thing, so the whole quest thing has just never been appealing to me. Not to mention, when I was younger, I didn't care about stories in games. As long as it was fun to me, I didn't care about anything else. But things change over time. Experiencing the story became just as, if not more important than playing the game itself sometimes. Zombies has never really fit into this category for me, as story moments during gameplay often happen during chaotic moments, so it could be hard to focus on the story with this going on in the background. I can't get invested in a story with this constantly happening in the background, so I mainly rely on YouTube videos if I'm ever interested in a story. But that again takes away from the gameplay of the mode. If I'm gonna get invested in a story, I'd rather play a game like Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. And if I wanted to play a zombie game with a story, I'd play Resident Evil. So overall, I'm very mixed about the story. I like parts of it, but the overall gameplay of zombies never really works for getting invested. But again, that's just my opinion. Doing this video has made me realize something. Zombies means as much to me as it did back in the day. But since 2020, I've become invested in story-based single-player experiences, and zombies simply doesn't fit in this format for me. As I've mentioned, I like zombies for the simple arcade experience, but over time, I crave that experience less and less. So why do I keep coming back to it? Is it to relive the less stressful years of my life? Is it just to escape the world and relax a bit? Yes, but mostly because it's just fun. In the end, do I play it less than I used to? Yes. Do I get frustrated more with this game mode than any other? Again, yes. But in the end, it's just fun to play, and will always have a special place in my heart. Really? What else can I say? It may not be the end-all be-all game mode, but it's just fun, and that's all it needs to be. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you later. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because there's going to be more videos coming in the future.